paranormal experience when I lived near Big Bone Park. Several years ago, when I was married, my ex and I moved to a very small house right near Big Bone Park in Union, Kentucky. It was beautiful and I loved it there at first. But it didn't take long before living there terrified me. One night right after we moved in, I was out on the couch by myself watching TV when I heard these god-awful screams coming from outside. It sounded like female human screams, but I'm also aware that some animals can make sounds we think are human. But then after the sound stopped, I heard the barn door open and shut really hard 3 times. I thought something was going on out there, so I went out to check, but there was nothing. It didn't even look like the barn door was open. I got a really bad feeling and just hurried up and went back inside and got into bed with my ex. I told him that next morning what happened, and he just figured a rabbit was getting killed or something like that, but there was never any sign of it. Just weird. The next time something significant happened, it was pretty scary. Little things were happening all the time in the house, but it was always so small and vague that I was able to overlook it. This time there was no denying it. We were in bed and I woke up in the middle of the night just randomly at like 2 in the morning. I rolled over on my back and was just kind of looking around the room in the dark when I look over to my left to the side of the bed where my ex was laying. And standing right at the side of the bed were 2 people. I could not see heads. It was like heads were blotted out. But I could very clearly see one of the figures was wearing a John Deere hooded sweatshirt that was green and he had his hands in the front pockets. The other person just looked like they were wearing maybe a black jacket. And they were just standing there watching us, side by side. I immediately pulled the covers up over my head and start screaming. My ex jumps out of bed and turns the lights on, completely freaked out because he woke up out of a dead sleep to me screaming. I told him what I saw, but he just kept saying there's nothing in the room and maybe it was just my sleep paralysis. But I know that it wasn't because I was able to move. I literally considered that maybe I didn't have my contacts, and so I rubbed my eyes and checked again that I really was seeing what I was seeing. If I had been having sleep paralysis, I wouldn't have been able to move my arms or scream. I told him to wake me up before he went to work because I didn't want to stay there by myself. And from that day on, I didn't. As soon as he would go to work, I would pack my daughter up and stay at my mom's for the day until it was time to come home from work. Naturally, I couldn't always do that. My daughter had just turned 1 when we moved there, and I was beginning to realize that she was autistic. So I had her evaluated by early intervention, and they came to the house to do that. When they evaluated her, they said, of course, she qualified for services based on developmental delay, and that we would be getting the process started for that. I asked them what we could do for her in the meantime to help her start talking and communicating with us. Because my daughter barely ever made any noise. She barely cried. She pretty much sat quietly in her bedroom every day and played. They advised us to take all of the batteries out of the toys because it would help her with imaginative and pretend to play. So we did. I was really disappointed about this particular toy, my pal Violet. We bought it for her first birthday. It came with a disc and I had registered it on this website, and it said her name and everything. And I kind of felt like if anything it would help her, but they said it wouldn't. So I took the batteries out of it. One afternoon it was just my daughter and I in the house. She was back in her bedroom playing, which was all the way at the back left corner of the house. I had gotten up and went to the kitchen to make her lunch. I'm standing there making her lunch and all of a sudden she just starts screaming. And I mean screaming. It was a noise I had never heard her make before. Terror. I drop what I'm doing and run to the hallway back to her bedroom, and I see my baby running out of her room, terrified, but she was not looking at me as she was running toward me. She was looking behind her like she was running away from something. I picked her up and backed up from the hallway into the kitchen, and she was just bawling and crying, completely inconsolable. I could see her little heart pounding through her chest. Of course she doesn't talk, so I'm not gonna find out what was wrong. I'm standing there trying to calm her down when all of a sudden I hear that toy talk. Hi Isla. I think it said something after that like, "It's your pal Violet." The instant terror and dread I felt I will never forget. I immediately knew I had to get out of that house. There was a hallway from the kitchen that led directly to the front door, and that's exactly where I went. I grabbed the diaper bag and the keys and went out to the car and drove the hell away from there. Me in a t-shirt and underwear, and my 1-year-old daughter in a diaper only. I could not get away from that house fast enough. I drove to my mother's and told her to bring us out some clothing out. Once I had pants on, I went in my mother's apartment and texted my ex immediately that I didn't want to stay in that house anymore without him. We moved a few months later. I have read things here and there that the park has a haunted history. We were almost directly on the property. I totally believe something is going on out in that area. People usually don't even believe me when I tell them that story, but it's 100% true.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for sticking around until the end of the video. Your support really means the world to me. I truly appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch and engage with my content. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. I've got a lot more exciting content coming your way, so be sure to click the bell icon to stay updated.